Yeah, welcome to your previews for the SMX playoffs, the SuperMotocross World Championship, brought to you by Monster Energy here on Racer X. And also thanks to our sponsors, Matthes, Maxima, and FXR, Jason Weigandt, Jason Thomas, and Steve Matthes. We got the band back together. Steve, I thought after Ironman we were done. JT and I were at the race. You were somewhere overseas, already moving on to off-season pursuits. But no, we got $5.5 million on the line with 3 playoff races, and most people probably don't even understand how this all works. So we're back to work, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. The UK trip is over. And look, I didn't go to Ironman. I just figured a Lawrence would win. And they did. They just won everything. But no, I don't know. I sense excitement from the industry about these 3 races. I do sense that people are looking forward to seeing them. But there's also some unease with how it's going to go, how it's going to work. We've seen hybrid tracks before, not always the great racing. We've got amateurs involved because obviously that helps the promoter out, but that also dumbs down the track a little bit, in my opinion. So I think cautious optimism for these brand new 3 SMX races. And I don't think we can make a judgment, obviously, until we see them. They could be amazing, or I wonder if it'll be a little bit like past Monster Cups or US Opens, where we're like, hey, that was cool. All right, on to the real thing, which is Anaheim 1. Either way, we're going to have lots to talk about.
Yeah, so we got 3 races. Real quick, that's ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte. That's part of the Charlotte Motor Speedway complex. Chicagoland Speedway, which is an old NASCAR track that they don't use for NASCAR anymore, so they're going to be able to build whatever they want there on the infield. And then the LA Memorial Coliseum, 250 and 450 class. Each race is a 20-minute plus 1 lap format times 2 motos, 2 20-minute motos in each class. JT, I was surprised actually in Ironman. I figured by the time we got to August, dudes would be over it, but normally they are. The great unknown, the money, there's $5.5 million paid out through these 3 races alone. But the great unknown to me is what really had riders pumped up because they don't know how to prepare or what to expect.
Yeah, it's, I think some aspects of it are going to feel a little bit like a US Open or Monster Cup, but there is so much more at stake. At those races, I've raced them many times. I've been to them in the years subsequent, and it's a little bit of a loose environment. Everybody's there to make some money, but there's not a lot of pressure. It's in the middle of the off season. Where this is going to be different is this is a real championship. Goes into the record books. This is the real thing. So I always look at the riders who have not had a very good year. This is a way to completely reverse the narrative that they've been suffering through. Jason Anderson is a rider I've mentioned on several shows so far, several conversations. We all thought he was going to be a championship contender in 2023. I know I certainly did. After winning 7 races in 2022, nothing has panned out the way that we or he thought it would. Now he gets to go into these 3 rounds with no real precedent. He could come in and completely flip the script on what he thinks about his 2023 campaign. So I think there are storylines there throughout. I think when you look at the 250 class, Hayden Deegan is in that same way where, yes, I'm sure it was a letdown for him to not walk away with the 2023 Pro Motocross Championship. None of us really expected that going in, but leaving Washougal, that door was open. Now he gets another shot at it. He gets to reset the points, go in there in these speedway tracks, the Supercross environment where we know he is very, very capable. He could walk away as your champion and forget about Pro Motocross. Would be a long, distant memory if he could walk away with your Super Motocross World Championship.
So what you're saying, JT, is we all know if a guy won the US Open or the Monster Energy Cup or any other off-season race, Paris, Geneva, Ossex Open, whatever it might be, it didn't mean anything. It was just fun, and maybe they made some money. You think a guy that wins this, it will mean more than those off-season races?
It absolutely does. It's like SEC football. It just means more. But yet, absolutely to your point, anytime we would leave one of those off-season races, it was fun. It was a great time, but no one really cared. We didn't think, oh, this guy's going to win in the following Supercross season because he won this one-off race. I think this is a little bit different because it's right after the season. We've only had 1 weekend off. And it's a 3-round championship type series where everybody's hearts are going to be in it. This matters. This isn't going to be some half effort where everybody's just limping through it. Maybe we can make some money. But number one, I just don't want to get hurt. That's what you hear you heard at the Monster Cup every year. I just don't want to get hurt because I don't want to screw up my offseason. If I can make some money, that will be cool. I don't have this feeling about these 3 races at all. I think guys are going to absolutely be going for it because, as you said, this matters more.
Okay, Monster Energy is going to present our lineup. These are the riders guaranteed into the motos, and this all comes from combined points in motocross and supercross together. 450 class, Sexton, Plessinger, Jett Lawrence, Cianciarulo, Ferrandis, Webb, Anderson, Roxon, Barsha, Norin, Harlan, Marchbanks, Masterpool, both Hill brothers, Chisholm, Wilson, McElrath, Nichols. Those guys have all said they're going to race. They'll be at all three. They earn the right. So, Steve, I'll go back to you. Do you think, look, after coming off of Sexton winning the Supercross title, and he was the only guy that could challenge Jett consistently outdoors, and then Jett goes perfect outdoors, do you think it's just what we just saw at Ironman? Can Sexton beat Jett? Or do you think that an Anderson type, a Barsha, Webb, Roxon, do you think we see those guys get in there because it's different and it's only 3 races?
Well, first of all, I'm glad JT's check is cleared to promote these races. I've never heard such wild propaganda. Look, these are gimmicky.
World Championship, right? Buddy.
Yeah, these are gimmicky. There's 2 20-minute motos. Now a little longer than a Triple Crown.
Why is it gimmicky? Why? Explain gimmick to me.
Because the third round is 75 points.
But like, what? How does gimmick? But how does gimmick fit into that? Gimmick implies like fake or something. Like
gimmick doesn't imply fake at all. That fake implies fake. Gimmicky is we're getting a little bit a different format. We don't have 3 Triple Crowns. We have 2. It's not 30-minute motos. It's 2 20-minute motos. We have double points at round 2, triple points at round 3. It's just, we're trying something that we don't see in the regular motocross or supercross series. So it's a little gimmicky to me.
But riddle me this. Does gimmicky to me implies a negative connotation? Does it not? When I hear gimmicky, it's usually someone saying that it's, we don't know about this. This may not be very great. That's how I hear it. Maybe I'm misinterpreting that. I think they're trying to make it something different. So I don't think gimmicky has to necessarily mean different. They want this to be unique.
Yeah, but again, when you're talking about all this money for grabs and a 3-race series, 2 motos each night, what if somebody goes 5-5-1 for the title and some of the contenders run into a little bit of a first turn crash or whatever have you, and now we have a champion who's kind of the champion because they got 75 points at the final round. Now, good for him. Money check will clear. I get it. But are we really going to walk away from a 3-round SMX series from a guy, if that happens, and being like, yep, you're the best guy? No, he won the championship because of a 75-point award at the final round. So it's a little bit, to me, gimmicky. But look, having said all that, it's still going to be exciting, still going to be neat. I have yet to see, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I've yet to see a real thrilling Monster Energy Cup. The hybrid track scares me a little bit, but open mind. I'm going into it with an open mind, and we'll see what happens. Weege, back to your question though, man, we got 28 races of data, right? We have 28 races of who's good, who's not. And again, I like JT's Jason Anderson point. Yeah, Jett Lawrence, he's really good. Sexton's the second place guy, and hybrid track or 2 barrels on a flat field in a figure 8. I'll go with Jett Lawrence and Chase Sexton. Like, I don't think we see much difference here. Those guys are certainly on a roll. Only 1 week off, so no real time to change fortunes or pick up a new training program or what have you. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I don't see much changing, Weege.
Yes, but the reason we have you two on all these shows arguing all the time, the Venn diagram is the answer is somewhere in the middle. This format, especially with the triple points in the last round, is designed to breed chaos. Isn't there a chance that Jett Lawrence is the best guy, but has a problem at one of the races, and that's how Roxon or Barsha or Anderson, who maybe aren't the best guy, end up winning it? Isn't there more likely that could happen here than in a traditional championship? And if you like that, we give you that in Supercross and Motocross. But Steve, doesn't it prove the point that a Ken Roxon type could win this by getting 1 win in 2/3 or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm here for that. I'm here for the chaos. Should be great. But, that's going to take some extraordinary circumstances, which could happen, again, with the way the gimmick is set up with the triple points at the final round. We can see it. But, yeah, at the end of the day, we walk out of Monster Energy Cup thinking that guy's a champion. If that happens, we're going to walk out of LA Coliseum going, well, that was cool. Good for, insert rider name here, who won the championship, but really, yeah, whatever. It's 3 races. It's a gimmick race, and let's move on to Anaheim. Like, I don't see this being monumental. I don't see this being like a massive sea change in our sport where we're now talking about the SMX champion. You know what I mean? This is cool. It's awesome. Good for the riders to make some money. But in the end, yeah, like, I don't know. Let's see what happens.
There's $1 million for the 450 champ and $500,000 for second. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. They might be a little more emotional one way or another than that.
Yeah, I don't know. We just literally did a podcast where 2 people who won $1 million by sweeping the Monster Cup both kind of complained
about winning the $1 million.
Yeah, the taxes, and it's not really $1 million. I mean, it's unbelievable for us 3 sitting here on the Zoom.
But taxes are the race's fault?
No, listen, I'm with you. I'm on your side, JT. When we talk about the money, it's phenomenal to hear riders who have won $1 million of the Monster Cup be like, well, it's not really $1 million. I got to pay taxes. I didn't take the annuity, all that stuff. So I'm just judging on past racers winning $1 million. I don't know, man. Like, again, it's crazy for us 3 on this Zoom.
Okay,
because
let me ask you this, Steve. So you and I have been to U.S. Opens and Monster Cups, all of them that have ever happened, right? When we're there, when the race is over, I agree with you. No one really cared unless you're the winner. And it's like, that was fun. That was a good time. Let's go to the blackjack table. Like, that's what it's always been. It's a feel good time race. My only point is I think this is going to be different. I don't think you're going to have that shoulder shrug like, whatever, after each round, because I think there's more at stake. I think the points, the amount of money, the team involvement, because at these Monster Cups and US Opens, it would be a watered down field. Some guys are just like, I don't really want to go. I don't care. I don't want to be there. That's not what's happening at these rounds. We're going to have a deeper field. Sans Tomac, we're going to have literally every top rider in the sport at these rounds. So I just think it's going to have a different feel than that. I understand your point. There are differences. The points can really get skewed off of 1 good round or 2 good rounds. But I just think the atmosphere will be much more championship feel than it will be Paris, Barcelona, Monster Cup feel. So time will tell, but that's just my take.
You guys disagree? How about that? Wow.
I understand Steve's opinion. I just think it's going to have a heavier and more impactful feel there than he does. That's okay.
I think the teams for sure are more interested in this than the off-season races, which they only go to begrudgingly or sometimes not at all. So we'll see if that helps. Like, maybe during the week they're more invested, because I know they care about this way more than they do the regular, I guess we'd call off-season races, because they consider this part of the season. Let's go to the 250 field. Monster Energy can present that here. This is, again, in combined points. And I don't think it's a surprise that Hunter Lawrence is on top. He comes in with 25 points already because he had the best scores throughout the regular season, combining both series. Hayden Deegan second, Levi Kitchen third, RJ Hampshire, Joe Shimoda, Tom Vial, Max Voland, Justin Cooper, Jordan Smith, Jalik Swoll, Ryder DeFrancesco, Talon Hawkins, Max Anstey, Pierce Brown, Dylan Schwartz, Carson Mumford, Caden Broswell, Seth Hamaker. Those are the riders guaranteed into the motos. And then there's a group that's in the LCQ for both classes. They have a chance to race for 3 slots in the 250s, or 3 slots in the 450s and 4 slots in the 250s, because we're missing, let's see, Jett won't be racing a 250. Chance Hymas is hurt. And Eli Tomac, remember him? Yeah, he won't be participating, even though he scored a top 20. Going into these playoffs, Steve, I'm always scared of what answers I'm going to get from you, but I got to imagine we got a better Hayden Deegan now than we did in Supercross when we last saw him in a stadium-ish type race. And I feel like he's going to have revenge on the mind, because he's got to feel like, dude, I could have won this motocross title. It slipped away with a red flag and a bike problem. I feel like he's going to be extra motivated. I don't know if he can beat Hunter Lawrence, but I feel like he's going to have fire. What do you think?
Well, I think he'd have fire. Yeah, regardless, anything, right? He's going to be one of the favorites for sure. I mean, Hunter is probably, look, I live in Vegas, so we do a lot of betting here. Hunter Lawrence is the betting favorite going in to win this thing. But again, with the gimmick of the points, who knows? But Hayden's going to be amazing. Yeah, Weege jumped into Supercross, right? Had his ups and downs. Didn't really, how many podiums did he get in Supercross? 3?
2 or 3.
2? Yeah, not that many, right?
Yeah.
And then outdoors, absolutely.
Yeah, it was good, but not unbelievable. He was just pretty darn good. Yep.
And then he was unbelievable in outdoors. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to gain some confidence, know that he could possibly win this thing, and he'll be going all out to do it. If Hunter Lawrence is the betting favorite, Hayden Deegan is not far behind.
JT, what about these guys who I almost feel like for a 3-race deal, gimmick, if that's the word Steve wants to use, RJ Hampshire should be back, got hurt at Unadilla. Levi Kitchen, you never know exactly what Levi Kitchen you're going to get. I feel like those next 2 guys and points coming in are like the exact guys that could just have lightning in a bottle just in the nick of time.
Yeah, and I think there are even more. I think Joe Shimoda coming off his first ever 1-1. All these guys, to my earlier point, are looking at an opportunity here to completely change everybody's thought of their 2023 season. There's not going to be standard Supercross whoops, right? So to me, that opens the door for more riders than you'd think about. A guy like Seth Hamaker, to me, it's a little bit of a liability. It has been in his game. Without that, you're telling me that a start is one of the more important factors than just raw speed. He has that in spades. So guys that we're not really thinking about, if you're a good starter and you're in shape, which we know he can do 20 minutes, I think you have to bring more guys into the foray. And maybe that's only the 250 class. Maybe Steve's right. And guys like Jett Lawrence and Chase are just simply too good to be overcome by these other guys. But I don't know, a guy like Justin Barcia or some of these guys, they're capable. Just because they haven't had the best runs as of late, the track is going to be a little bit more conducive, I think, to getting a good start and sprinting. I don't think a guy like Jett Lawrence is going to be able to make up multiple seconds a lap like he's been able to do in pro motocross. The track's just not going to set up for that. So I think it's going to be tighter margins and the gaps are going to be very small. So if you get a bad start, you have any sort of issue, it's really going to punish you. So I think just look for a little bit of unlikely results. Maybe not first or second place. I understand that the best guys are still the best guys, but I think we could really get some unlikely results throughout the top 5 and top 10.
Yeah, unlike the Triple Crowns, 20-minute mains for 450s, and I'm assuming 15 for 250s. That allows the cream to rise to the top. The longer the races, the more steady top riders we see do well at these type of things. But listen, the first hybrid track that I see that allows for exciting racing will be the first time I see that. I'm skeptical of these tracks. A little bit has to do with Monster Cup over the years.
But Steve, you say that we haven't seen it. You don't remember like the incredible race we had between James Stewart and Ryan Villapoto, the Dungey year where he couldn't get his bike to shift. Like we've seen battles at these races.
We've seen some, absolutely, but we've seen more runaways and more.
Understood.
Boring
I'm just saying
ones.
it's certainly possible, right? These tracks
Absolutely.
don't preclude it. And I think a lot of that too is we're going to have more depth than we've ever seen at races like this before. It's not going to be half the field is there. Because trust me, I was the guy that were jumping up and down excited about half the field not being there. That's not what this is going to be. It's going to be almost everybody in the entire sport showing up.
And some of the guys showing up, we will have some news. We believe Cooper Webb is in for these races. He already announced that he's no longer part of Red Bull KTM. So we believe, suspiciously timed exactly to the beginning of these playoff races, that Cooper Webb will return to racing on a Yamaha. None of us know this for sure, but Cooper Webb making his debut on a Yamaha, Steve, that's pretty big news here. We don't often see it work quite like this. Sometimes we've seen it in off-season races. I don't think this is as thrown together as it's going to sound. Webb back to his old team, Star Racing and Yamaha. This is going to be an interesting little subplot to all this.
Yeah, absolutely. And a motivated, full of fire Cooper Webb too, right?
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna see a guy that's really gonna be out to show like, hey man, I'm gonna stick it to those orange guys and show them what I can do. I talked to some people close to Coop, and he's coming in at 100%. Like he's been riding, been at the goat farm, been riding. He's coming in at 100%. This isn't some sort of like off season, let's see where I stand race here. He's coming to do well, and that's from people close to the situation. So yeah, that'll be maybe the most interesting part of these SMX races. Is that, I would think so, right? Cooper Webb coming in, like, because we know Jett, we know Chase, we know Kenny. Let Coop on a new bike. That's probably the wild card.
So I'll pose this question to you, Steve. Weege and I were taking opposite sides of this same coin, but for Webb, right? I think it's a bonus for him to not have standard Supercross whoops on a bike that he really doesn't have race time on, right? So he's not going to have to worry about any of that. It's been a liability. He's found ways to overcome it. We all know that, but it's still been a liability when the whoops are really tough. This track's not going to have that. So I think that is a big win for him. We just kind of taking the other side where he thinks maybe it's a negative because the track will be more open. It's faster. He won't be able to use his coveted cut down inside lines. So being a bigger, broader, faster track works against him. Where do you come down on those two takes?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a more basic track, it hurts the riders that have more skill, right? Whoops are a separator. And even though Coop hasn't always crushed the whoops, he's still been in, let's say, the upper 25% of racers on a track in the whoops on a given Saturday night. So yeah, I think it's going to hurt him because the basic track will, like many of the guys, hurt them a little bit as far as making up time.
Yeah, I don't think that speed, absolute top speed, like fourth gear stuff, is Webb's specialty. His specialty is those 180 tight corners and sections where he can outsmart people. And I don't know if these tracks have it. And then
the only other thing I'll add to my point there is think about this race when he battled Jeffrey Hurlings on a very similar Charlotte type racetrack to what we're going to see. That's it. That's the only other aspect I'll add. I think he can do it. Doesn't mean he's going to go out and win. This is a pro motocross champion. This is a rider that has gotten podiums this summer on a bike and team that he was not jiving with. And I don't think we should preclude him because the track is going to be a little bit easier.
Yes, that MXGP race that they ran next door at the dirt track, that might have been the best ride Webb has ever had in his life. And it was basic, and he came from behind and he caught and beat Jeffrey Hurling. So yeah, he'll have a hometown crowd and dirt vibes and all that going for him. Now, there is an LCQ at these to fill in those extra spots. Like I said, I'm surprised. There's tons of guys who are hurt and are not going to make it back. So it's a bit of a surprise field. Chris Blows will return to racing in the 250s, picked up by Phoenix Racing Honda.
Is he retiring? Is he retiring? Is Blows retiring? What is going on with Blows?
It's a never-ending retirement tour from last year.
He's like Elton John. He just keeps saying he's going to retire. He just goes on and on and on.
Yes, it's Kiss, another final tour. Blows, Kelly, Park, Forkner, Schock, Kilroy, Josh Faries, Hicks, Yoder, Neese, who's I believe been picked up by Club MX. That will be your LCQ field in the 250 class. And now I'm going to introduce a new segment of the show. Thanks to FXR for backing this, our Monster Energy preview show. This jersey right here. Now, the LCQ is going to be the domain of our friend Phil Nicoletti in the 450 class. So who is going to be the guy that can fill in the roster through the last chance qualifier? And obviously, the name that jumps out is Forkner. And JT, I know you're really happy that I put this jersey on, but let's just talk about the chance of Forkner being a true spoiler and filling in a guy you didn't even think of could win this race or win this title through the LCQ, JT.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle, right? For one, he's going to have to get through the LCQ without any sort of incident. But I think a rider of his caliber can absolutely do that. He's not going to have to get the whole shot. He just needs to stay out of trouble and let his talent bring him to the front. But once he's in, then everything opens up. He's going to have an outside gate pick. We know that. But I look back and I look at how proficient those Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki's have been on the start over the last, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks. I think he has a real chance. And I don't think many people are going to talk about him. It won't be the first rider I'm thinking of that's going to be on the podium or near the podium. I just look at his history of success and what this race could do for him and how motivated he likely is coming with, let's face it, probably zero pressure, right? Like no one's counting on him to win or be on the podium. And I just think that sets up really nicely for him to be a surprise front runner. And again, I know he's going to have a tough battle to get there. Every single weekend, he's going to have to go through the same format. But I just think there is a shot here for him to surprise.
Matthes, Justin Cooper, by the way, is eligible for this in the 250 class. He comes in, I believe, ranked 8th. So he's within range on points with the reset to do what Justin Cooper usually does, which is contend.
Yeah, I mean, look, great starter, right? Good indoors, good outdoors. He's the total package to do well in a hybrid track. And again, he can run 15 minutes without a problem as far as being in shape. So, yeah, I like the Forkner point. I think he could podium. He's an outside shot at podium. I mean, look, he got a couple of top fives by the end of the summer. Also with some ups and downs. So, you got to take that into account. But Faulkner would be my big surprise from that. Justin Cooper would be my big surprise from that. But can I just go on a little bit of a contact hit here from the folks at Maxima? Can I have a Maxima contact segment?
I kind of feel like you already have on this show, but go for it.
I want to know, the whole qualifying for the SMX and get in, and you need these points, and it's a race to the finish. We heard it 8 million times. Playoffs. I think you got paid to say the word playoffs. Look, they're going pretty far back in the LCQs to replace the riders that are either injured, team swaps, whatever. I just want to know, I know of some privateer guys that are healthy, ready to go, and are not racing this thing. Like,
yes, they said no. They were called and they turned it down. What are you guys doing?
There's money in the LCQs, so you don't need to make the main to get paid. There's good money in the LCQs. These privateers do nothing but complain, sometimes rightfully so, but they do nothing but complain about their lot in life and woe is me. And we have healthy privateers not showing up for these rounds. That's when I want to take this contact cleaner from Maxima and contact it on their heads. Because, guys, there's money here. The racing is there. Show up. I don't want to ever hear any complaining from any of you. I can think of 3 or 4 guys about this sport because they're not racing. And guys like Jace Kessler, he got 34 points. Yeah, he'll be there. And he's probably happy as a pig in poop to show up and get some money. But these other guys are staying home. I'll never understand that. Quit complaining, you privateers. And I love privateers, but quit complaining.
Yeah, there's about around $2,000 minimum in the LCQ, even if you don't make the main every week. So worst case scenario, you'll get money to at least pay for going there. And 20-seconded points. If you sneak into like 2 out of the 3 mains, which is definitely possible in the 450 class, 20-seconded points pays $25,000. I don't know why these privateers they were picking up the phone and saying no. They should have been picking up the phone, making the call. I don't understand. I do want to give you the LCQ lineup for the 450s. God is with us. He put Phil Nicoletti into all 3 LCQs. That's great.
Yep.
Kevin Moran's, Justin Starling, we believe, Josh Cartwright, Jerry Robin, Jeremy Hand, Bryce Shelley, Jace Kessler, Max Miller. Maybe somebody else is going to jump in there at the last second, but that's the point, Steve.
Starling's one of those guys I'm complaining about. He's not going.
Makes no sense to me. JT, what would you have done to get into these races as a privateer?
Right?
While you guys have been talking, I was trying to literally think of things that would keep me away from this. Some sort of biblical flooding. Maybe I was stuck at Burning Man. I don't know. Like I don't know of many things that would keep me from racing, let alone being 100% ready to go. I don't get that. This is what I did. I raced motorcycles, and a lot of times I did it in very far away places for very small amounts of money. So now you're telling me I get to go to Charlotte for a lot of money, especially you're telling me now if I do fairly well that I can make tens of thousands of dollars hypothetically. Yeah, I mean, to each their own, but I'm just telling you right now, yeah, you would need an army of men to keep me away from ZMAX Dragway on Saturday.
One other rider I want to mention, this is going to be my Maxis where the rubber meets the road segment. I'm not going to put the tire around my neck this time, but one guy who I know really wanted to prove himself at these races was Ty Masterpool, because he told me he wanted to show everyone that he could ride at least Supercross-ish tracks. He's been trying to audition. Then he had an appendicitis at Ironman, so I don't even know if he's going to be able to make it or do it, but I feel like for him, this is a really big moment. The other guys, like you're saying, Steve, if they win a bunch of money, they're going to be happy. If they don't, they'll find some excuse and say it doesn't really mean that much. I felt for Ty, this was a huge opportunity. So that's my Maxis where the rubber meets the road. But yeah, when you look at how much money is on the line for these privateers, I don't know why they're not all fighting to get in. 8th place, $100,000. 10th place, $75,000. A guy like Grant Harlan, he's going to make that money. Congratulations, guys.
It's amazing. And good job, by the way, for the folks at Feld and MX Sports for putting the LCQ on Race Day Live. That'll be the race to watch, I predict, in both classes. Anything will go in those things. Can't wait to watch those.
Yep, with Phil in them. All right, that's our show. We're going to wrap this up. Thanks to Monster, FXR, Maxis, and what do I have FXR on right now? Yeah, Monster and Maxis and FXR for backing our show, and Maxima for making contact with the privateers. That's it. It's the Jasons and Steve. We'll see you at Charlotte this weekend.